When someone disrespects you, the first instinct that hits you might be the urge to speak up, defend yourself, or even lash out. But here's a hard truth. Not every moment demands your voice. Not every situation deserves your energy. And silence, that's not weakness. That's discipline. That's power. You see, most people confuse loudness with strength. They think the person who speaks the most, yells the hardest, or argues the best is the one in control. But real control, the kind that holds weight and earns respect, lives in your ability to stay silent when every nerve in your body wants to react. That's when you show real strength. Silence is not about avoiding conflict. It's about mastering it. It's about choosing to protect your peace over proving a point. Think about it. When you argue with someone who disrespects you, what do you actually gain? You walk away emotionally drained, maybe even saying something you didn't mean, and giving that person control over your mood. You handed them the power. For what? A temporary win? A petty back and forth? It's not worth it. The moment you decide to be silent in the face of disrespect, you're actually saying something much louder. I'm not here to play your game. I know who I am. And that's a message no words can replace. People often ask, but if I don't say anything, won't they think I'm weak? Let them. Let them assume. Let them talk. Let them make noise. While they're busy trying to get your attention, you stay busy building your character. You stay focused on your growth. The truth is, most people won't understand the depth of your silence because they've never taken the time to find their own. See, silence requires self-respect. You need to know your worth to walk away from the fight, and that's what disrespect tries to test. Not your mouth, but your mind. When someone talks down to you, ignores you, discredits you, they're trying to pull you into a space where you start doubting yourself. Don't go there. That's a trap. That's not your battlefield. Hold your ground by doing less, say less, react less, and instead observe more, process more, heal more, focus more. Because here's what happens. While you stay silent, the other person exposes themselves. They reveal their insecurities, their instability, their need for attention. And your silence, it turns into a mirror, showing them who they really are, while you continue becoming who you were always meant to be. That's the beautiful thing about staying silent. It keeps you aligned with your purpose. It keeps you centered. You're not bouncing from one emotional reaction to another. You're rooted, steady, focused. And when you move from that place of stability, you stop living to prove people wrong and start living to become your highest self. So the next time disrespect comes knocking, don't answer it with noise. Answer it with focus, with self-control, with your silence. Because silence doesn't mean you don't have something to say. It means you have something far more valuable, something they can't shake, can't steal, and can't compete with. Inner strength. Stay silent, stay focused, let them talk, let your actions echo louder. Self-respect doesn't come from how others treat you. It starts with how you treat yourself. That's the foundation, because the minute you allow someone's disrespect to define your value, you're giving away something that should never be up for negotiation, your own sense of worth. You've got to understand this deeply. Just because someone fails to see your value doesn't mean you don't have any. Their inability to recognize your worth is not your problem. It's not your job to convince them. It's not your duty to educate them. And it's definitely not your responsibility to shrink yourself so they can feel comfortable. Your worth is not something to be validated externally. It's something you carry with you regardless of who's clapping or who's criticizing. Most people walk around waiting for approval, craving recognition. They allow other people's opinions to become their mirror. And when disrespect enters the room, suddenly they start questioning who they are. But that's not how self-respect works. Self-respect is a decision. It's a quiet choice to honor yourself even when others don't. It's standing tall in a room full of doubters and still knowing exactly who you are. You don't need validation from someone who can't even respect themselves. Think about that. So many people who disrespect others are operating from a place of pain, insecurity, or ego. They project what they haven't healed. They insult what they don't understand. And if you allow that energy into your space, it'll start to mold the way you see yourself. That's why you have to build a solid identity that doesn't shake just because someone throws words your way. When someone disrespects you, pause and ask yourself, do I really want to let this moment define me? Or do I want to use this moment to remind myself who I am? Because here's the truth. When you know your worth, you stop entertaining nonsense. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. You stop lowering your standards for people who aren't even reaching for growth. You start operating on a higher level, a level where your energy is protected, your voice is intentional, and your time is sacred. That doesn't mean you walk around with arrogance. It means you move with clarity. You know what you tolerate and what you don't. You know what builds you and what breaks you. You know what feeds your soul and what poisons your peace. And when you operate from that space, disrespect becomes irrelevant. It doesn't shake you anymore. It just reminds you of how far you've come. Let them talk. Let them doubt you. Let them disrespect from a distance. You don't owe anyone an emotional reaction. What you owe yourself is loyalty to your boundaries, your healing, your focus. Because when you respect yourself, you no longer wait to be treated right. You required it. You embody it. And if someone can't meet you at that level, they don't get access to your life. This isn't about ego, it's about standards. It's about knowing that your energy is valuable, your time is limited, your future is calling, and none of that can be sacrificed trying to prove something to someone who isn't even trying to understand you. Self-respect is quiet. It doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be lived every day, in your actions, in your silence, in your focus. So when they disrespect you, remember, it's not about them. It's about how deeply you honor yourself in spite of them. Growth doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always come with applause or public recognition. In fact, the most powerful growth often happens in silence, when no one's watching, when no one's cheering, when it's just you, your thoughts, and the discipline to keep going. That's where transformation begins. See, people want results, but they don't always want the silence that comes with the process. They want success, but don't want to be alone in the quiet moments of sacrifice. But the truth is, if you're constantly seeking noise, validation, attention, applause, you'll miss the most important part of the journey, that quiet space where you build, where you reflect, where you become. When you're focused on your growth, you don't need to tell the world what you're doing. You don't need to explain why you've gone quiet. Real elevation requires separation. It requires you to pull away from distractions, from drama, from the same cycles that keep you stuck. And it's in that solitude, in that intentional silence, that the real work gets done. Let me say this. People will talk. They'll ask why you're not showing up the way you used to, why you're not responding to nonsense, why you're not getting caught up in arguments and petty debates. That's because you've shifted. You've learned that growth doesn't need witnesses, it just needs consistency. And you'd rather evolve in silence than perform in noise. You don't owe anyone access to your process. You don't have to prove to the world that you're working on yourself. Let your progress show up when it's ready. Let your peace be louder than your posts. Because what you're building in private, your character, your vision, your discipline, is preparing you for something that the noisy version of you wasn't ready for. It's tempting to defend yourself when you're misunderstood. It's tempting to speak up when people question your silence. But that's not where your power is anymore. Your power is in restraint, in choosing not to explain every move, in knowing that time will speak for you if you stay consistent long enough. Your job is not to convince, it's to keep growing. And the beauty of growing in silence is that you don't need to maintain any image. You're not performing for likes. You're not curating your life for approval. You're just becoming real, raw, grounded. You're learning what feeds your spirit and what drains it. You're shedding the habits, the people, the environments that no longer serve you. And you're doing it with your head down and your heart focused. There's peace in that. There's power in that. Because the loudest person in the room is often the most insecure. But the one who's quiet, the one who's observing, learning, evolving, that's the one who's dangerous. Not in a harmful way, but in a purposeful way. That's the person who can't be shaken by disrespect, by doubt, by noise. Because they're rooted, they're grounded. They've been building in silence for too long to be rattled by surface-level chaos. So if you're in that season right now where you feel distant, quiet, unseen, don't mistake it for being lost. You're not lost. You're just focused. You're growing in places the world can't see yet. Keep going, keep building, keep becoming. And when it's time, when it's fully formed, your life will speak so loud that silence will no longer be needed. Let your silence be your strategy and your growth be your answer. If you can't control your emotions, you'll spend your life controlled by situations. It's that simple. Every moment someone disrespects you, every time someone talks down to you, if your first reaction is to explode, defend, or argue, then you've handed over your power. Not because they were right, not because they deserved your energy, but because you weren't in control of yourself. And when you're not in control of yourself, someone else always is. Let that settle for a second, because emotions are powerful. Don't get it twisted. They are real, they are human, and they matter. But when you allow emotions to lead every decision, every reaction, every word that leaves your mouth, you end up being dragged by life instead of driving it. People will provoke you just to see what version of you comes out. And when you keep giving them access to the reactive, angry, impulsive version of yourself, they win, every time. Self-control is the quiet strength that keeps you from turning disrespect into self-destruction. It's the pause before the response. It's that deep breath before you say something you'll regret. And that pause, that second of stillness, that's where your power lives. That's where you choose not to match their energy, but to rise above it. See, you can't expect peace in your life if chaos rules inside you. You've got to get to a place where not everything gets a reaction, not every opinion shakes you, not every insult touches you. Because when you have emotional discipline, you don't just protect your peace, you protect your future. You stop letting temporary emotions create permanent damage. There are going to be people who disrespect you just to feel powerful, people who want to trigger your weakness to hide their own. Don't give them that satisfaction. Show them a version of you that they can't access. Calm, controlled, unbothered. That doesn't mean you're pitapal. Passive. That doesn't mean you're afraid to speak up. It means you know exactly when it's worth it and when it's not. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you ignore how you feel. It means you feel everything fully, but respond with wisdom, not impulse. It means you don't let your anger dictate your tone or your sadness become your identity. You acknowledge it, you sit with it, but then you choose a response that aligns with who you're becoming, not who they tried to reduce you to. Because here's the truth. If they can pull you out of character, they own a part of you. And your character, that's your foundation. That's your legacy. You don't throw that away over a moment of disrespect. You protect it by choosing emotional control over emotional chaos. You guard it by making peace more important than proving a point. And the more you learn to control your emotional responses, the more peace you attract. The more respect you earn, not from others, but from yourself. Because every time you don't react the way you used to, you're growing. Every time you stay calm in a storm, you're winning a battle they don't even know you're fighting. So don't let disrespect turn you into someone you're not. Don't let anger write your story. You're stronger than that. You're wiser than that. You're more focused than that. Protect your emotions like you protect your future, because the truth is they're connected. There comes a point where you have to ask yourself, what am I really feeding every day? My peace or the chaos around me? Because in a world full of noise, full of opinions, conflict, comparison, and distractions, it's easy to get pulled into everything except what truly matters. And when you allow that chaos to consume your energy, you slowly lose sight of your own purpose. You forget what you're building. You forget who you're becoming. The truth is, peace isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you create. It's something you protect. And that means you've got to make intentional decisions every single day to protect your mind, your spirit, your space. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every conversation needs your participation. Not every insult deserves your comeback. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to move inward, to step away from the noise and reconnect with your own clarity. When someone disrespects you, it's tempting to react. It's tempting to match their energy, to show them you're not one to be disrespected. But what they really want is a reaction. What they want is to pull you out of character, to drag you into their chaos. Don't fall for that. You don't have to match anyone's dysfunction to prove your strength. Real power is in restraint. Real power is when you choose to pour your energy into your own peace instead of their drama. Peace isn't weakness. It's not about being passive or turning the other cheek for the sake of silence. It's about making a higher choice. It's about refusing to allow the outside world to disturb your inner world. It's about being so grounded in who you are that no insult, no rumor, no loud voice can shake the foundation you've built inside. There's a cost to giving your energy away to chaos. Every time you argue with someone who isn't even on your level, you lose focus. Every time you defend your self to someone who's not even listening, you waste breath. Every time you try to fix, correct, or win over someone who's committed to misunderstanding you, you step away from your own path. And that's a price too high to pay. What you focus on grows. So if you keep focusing on the disrespect, the pain, the noise, guess what? That becomes your world. But if you shift your focus to your goals, your healing, your peace, your world changes. It gets quieter, clearer, lighter, and you start to realize that you never needed to fight every battle, explain every move, or prove yourself to people who don't even know how to value themselves. Your peace is your responsibility, not theirs, not the world's, yours. And when you make it a priority, everything else starts to align. You become more intentional with your time. You become more selective with your conversations. You become more focused on building, not battling. And in that space, away from the chaos, you find power, you find clarity, you find yourself. So when disrespect shows up, and it will, ask yourself, is this worth my peace? If the answer is no, then walk away without guilt. Keep your energy intact, keep your focus sharp, because there's nothing more powerful than a person who's learned how to stay calm in the middle of the storm, who's chosen peace over pettiness, and who knows exactly where they're going. Starve the chaos, feed the peace. Every time someone disrespects you, you have two choices. You can let it burn you up from the inside, let it haunt your thoughts, steal your time, disrupt your peace. Or you can use it as fuel. You can take that sting, that insult, that moment of being dismissed, and you can turn it into something powerful. Not by reacting, not by retaliating, but by letting it push you forward instead of pull you down. Because here's the truth. Some of the most powerful transformations happen after someone doubted you, after someone tried to belittle you, after someone looked you in the eye and didn't see your worth. Those moments, they hurt, Let's not act like they don't. Disrespect can cut deep, especially when it comes from people you expected better from. But it's what you do with that pain that defines who you are. You can either let it harden you or strengthen you. You can either let it make you bitter or make you better. The difference is in your focus. If all you want is revenge, you'll stay stuck in the energy of the disrespect. You'll stay trapped in the memory, in the conversation, in the insult. But if what you want is growth, if you want elevation, then you use that disrespect as a signal, a reminder that it's time to level up, not break down. Don't waste your time proving anything to people who don't even know how to respect themselves. Don't waste your breath explaining your worth to someone who isn't ready to understand it. Let your progress be the proof. Let your evolution be the answer. Because when you channel your energy into your growth instead of the argument, you win in silence. The people who disrespected you, they expected a reaction. They expected you to lower yourself, to spiral, to lash out. They wanted to distract you. And when you don't give them that satisfaction, when you stay calm, focused, unbothered, that's a power move they didn't see coming. That is how you reclaim your energy. That's how you shift the power dynamic. This isn't about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about refusing to let it stop you. It's about choosing growth over ego. You let the sting wake you up, not shut you down. You let it sharpen your vision, not cloud your judgment. You take the lesson, not the insult, and you carry it with you, not as a wound, but as a reminder of how far you've come and how far you're going. Because the truth is, some of your biggest blessings come disguised as disrespect. Sometimes it takes being overlooked to realize your own potential. Sometimes it takes being underestimated to unlock a new level of hunger. And sometimes it takes someone walking away from you to remind you of everything you still carry within you. You don't need revenge. You need results. You don't need to scream. You need to shine. You don't need to hurt them back. You need to heal and move forward in strength. Not for them, but for you, for your peace, your purpose, your path. So the next time someone disrespects you, don't let it pull you into the fire. Let it feed the flame that's already inside you. Let it remind you of the power of staying silent, staying grounded, and staying committed to becoming the best version of yourself. Let their disrespect become your motivation, not your distraction.